Hello, hello, and welcome to the Weird and Strong podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Gruensteiner. This is episode number 1, using this as an introduction to who I am, what are we doing with this podcast, and what can you expect going forward. So first of all, thank you for listening on this first episode. What you can expect from me on this is that we're going to talk to folks from all walks of life, from all around the world, ways that they are a little bit different than most people, a little weird, the eccentric, the off the wall, the less than normal or different than normal sorts of folks, people who are strong physically, mentally, spiritually, all of the above, maybe some combination of those, and then any combination between. The major inspiration for this podcast came from a note from a fellow coach, fellow athlete, fellow weightlifter from about 2 years ago. I just recently refound it. And his sign off to me was to stay weird and strong. When I first found that, or first received that note, I didn't pay much attention to it. It didn't speak to me necessarily the same way as it does now. I loved it. I was like, yeah, hell yeah, that's me. Weird and strong. And now when I refound that note, I took a look at it and I saw that. And it sparked this interest in me that, wow, I have a strong identification with that. I know a lot of people that I know out there in the world would also identify with this as well. So, thus, the idea of a podcast spawned. A little bit about me, your host. I'm originally from Western North Dakota in the United States. I've taken many, many turns in my life that have led me to being a professional coach in the wellness space, working with people to help improve their health overall, be it physical, be it mental, be it with their nutrition, be it with their basic habits like sleeping. We tackle it all with the aim to help the overall person, the whole person, improve. And how I got here, man, it's been a long journey. I thought my calling in life was to join the Air Force when I was in high school. That was my major point, that I wanted to attend the Air Force Academy. I went all in with doing activities that would help get me there. And by the time I was a junior in high school, I realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do. Instead, I put the focus into being creative. I really loved playing music. I loved the arts. Even though I was not necessarily the most talented in music or drawing or singing or theater, it still brought me a lot of joy, and it was something that I wanted to pursue. After high school, I ended up being an exchange student in Germany for a year. Learned a lot of lessons, learned a lot about the world, a lot about myself in this process, and I really loved it there. Even throughout all the difficulties that I had navigating an entirely different and new culture than the one that I had grown up in. And came back to the U.S., studying music, theater, bouncing around from university to university in North Dakota, from Western North Dakota to where I currently reside in Fargo. I've done many jobs, from retail management. I've worked in nonprofits. And then from there, I decided, because growing up a pretty standard nerd, playing a lot of video games, Dungeons and Dragons, I learned how to build computers in my teens, build websites, things of that nature, that the tech world was calling to me, that was where I wanted to go. I started off in email marketing. I was a professional spam bot for about 2 years, year and a half, and then moved my way into web development, project management, engineer management. And as I made those leaps and changes, I found physical fitness for myself in my 30s for the first time. Prior to that, the most athletic thing I had ever done was marching band. And from there, that really kickstarted this process of things that I knew that I wanted for myself that I hadn't ever acted upon. Is that I always wanted to find a profession or a job that allowed me to help others, which led me to coaching naturally. Different flavors of that, allowing me the freedom to help in any area that I develop an expertise in. Through all of that, finding physical fitness for the first time, I found a sport that I really loved, which was Olympic weightlifting. I started competing myself. I started coaching a team here in Fargo, and that really was the catalyst for the current level of personal growth that I have, which is in the mental component of people's health and wellness. For myself, that's taken me on a wild journey this year, from feeling like a pretty burnt out coach and questioning if this was something that I really wanted to keep pursuing, or if, everybody was right that I should hang it all up and get a real job. That I was exposed to something called the Enlifted method, which allowed me to really start to help myself first. Allowed me to examine the stories that I've told myself or the beliefs that I've created, and really start to question those and look at them for what they are. They're thoughts in my head, and being able to take a lot more agency in my life, which has been phenomenal. I took my first adult real vacation, a week long this year. It was fantastic. Prior to that, I take a week off from work to, relax at home or do a project at home, take on a side gig, build a website for somebody in a week. But I'd never really taken a full week off of work where I could just do whatever I wanted. Building onto that, I've done additional self-development work this past year. It's been a great journey, and I'm excited to see what comes next. And thus the birth of this podcast as well, is that I'm putting myself out there into the world, bringing in the people that I find interesting, that likely you will find interesting as well, that they get to tell their stories. We get to talk about topics that we find interesting in the moment. Again, it's going to be stuff that's going to be weird. We might talk about strength sports. We might talk about ways that other people can be strong. And so, hold on. It's going to be a wild ride. And I'm excited as hell for it. So thank you for listening to this first little episode. And if you're interested in being on the Weird and Strong podcast, please reach out on our Instagram profile, which is @Weird and Strong.